the trip through the world-famous San Diego Zoo. Who's ready to see some awesome animals today? One more time, come on! Alright, that's what I like to hear, folks. Alright, and as you come through the front doors here at the San Diego Zoo, you are actively participating in the contribution to the conservation of our species, endangered species we have here. I always like to point out to the left we have our map stand, so if you are looking for a map and you don't have one already, you can get one there, or you can download our mobile app and find the map on that app. And up ahead, you see that big, giant exit sign with the parrot on top. If you keep going that direction, you have the Wildlife Explorers Base Camp. To the right of that sign, you have our reptile house, as well as our first aid station if you do need to go there. All right. As we are heading into the Lost Forest now, I'd like to remind everyone to keep their hands, feet, bodies, and belongings inside of the bus at all times to ensure a safe tour, because a safe tour is a happy tour. And if you do decide to stand up at any point during this tour, I would ask that you please hold on to the railing to brace yourself to ensure safety for you as well. All right. Now that we're heading down to the Lost Forest, I always like to talk about it a little bit. So you might, to our left and right, see some fauna from the Asian rainforest. Now this is because it is meant to simulate what it is like to be going through an Asian rainforest. Fun fact about this area of the zoo as well, it acts as a natural water reservoir. So it helps to cool this area of the zoo, much like these plants would in their native habitat. All right. Coming up on our right here, we have our Malayan tigers. They do like to hide, but sometimes they will be out, hanging out around the tree. The Malayan tigers here, we have 3 of them here at the San Diego Zoo, and they are part of our SSP, our Species Survival Plan. Now this is much like a dating service for these animals to ensure genetic diversity and healthy and disease-free pups. Does anyone see any Malayan tigers right now?
No.
No? Alright, well we'll continue on here. They do like to come out later in the day when it is a little cooler and the sun goes down. So if you are here towards the end of the day, I do highly recommend taking the footpath near this exhibit, and you might catch a glimpse of them. You might even get a glimpse of them verbalizing and roaring, which is always a treat, because I remember the first time I heard these guys roar, and it was a really cool experience. Alright, as we're coming up around here to this corner, to our right we have where the hippos usually are. This is where their habitat usually is. They have been temporarily moved to the urban jungle, where we will be going momentarily. But I always like to point out to our right that you can see these glass panels that look into the pool. That is because hippos, that is meant for everyone to be able to see the hippos, because they do spend up to 16 hours a day underwater. Another fun fact about hippos is that they are too dense to float or swim, so they glide along the bottom of their habitat on their tippy toes. Now we have 2 females here at the zoo, and they are mother and daughter. And to our right we might have some of our Allen swamp monkeys. Looks like we have a couple that are out right now, a couple little guys. So this is a real treat, folks, because usually these guys aren't out in the middle of the day when it is extremely hot. In the morning and later at dusk, when the sun goes down and the shade comes out, they will usually be hopping about, jumping from rope to rope and branch to branch. Looks like these guys are having quite the morning with their playtime. This is a real treat, folks, because let alone seeing them at all in the when it is really hot, they do look to be playing right now, and that is something I personally have not seen yet either. All right, we'll continue on real slow so everyone in the back can get a good view as well. Alright, and I do always like to point out to our right we have map location number 15. Now you can find these markers on your physical map or your digital map, and you can help plot your trip around the zoo. I do also like to point out ahead of us, we have our restrooms at this point in the zoo. If you are looking to use the restroom, it is to our right. All right, to our left, we have our American and lesser flamingos. Now the slightly less pinkish, whitish, and smaller ones are the lesser flamingos, and the really pink ones are the American flamingos, and they are the pinkest of the 6 species of flamingos. And if you were to be standing in their habitat looking at them, they would be looking at you at eye level. That is how tall they are. And coming up to our left, we have Kangaroo Bus Stop number 2. Now, opposed to this tour bus, the which only gets on and off at the bus depot, the Kangaroo bus has several different on and off points, so you can get on and off at many different points in the zoo if you're looking for that kind of thing. So if you're looking for some reliable transportation around the zoo, then that is the bus for you. Okay, we are going to take a full stop, and then we're going to take a right up this hill. And now I do always like to point out up to our left, through the trees, it's a little obstructed, but we have our exotic animal hospital here on campus. Now this is special because in 1920, it was one of the first animal hospitals to be built on a zoo campus. And it provides for extreme ease when having to take care of animals that need our help. Fun fact about this animal hospital here, we have an orangutan named Karen. When she was a younger little orangutan, the animal care team noticed that she was not as energetic as the rest of her group or her family. So they did an examination and they found that she had a penny-sized hole in her heart. So what they did was they brought her to the hospital and they could perform open heart surgery on Karen. And she is alive and well today, so you can go see her at the orangutan habitat if you do have time. And to our left on the highway, I do always like to point out, if you get on the highway and go 40 minutes in that direction, you'll hit our San Diego Zoo and Safari Park. And to our right, we have many different African savanna species, specifically and most notably the gazelle. And to our left, we have our polar bear plunge. So let's pull in here real quick and see if we can get a good glimpse of our polar bears. Oh, wow. Okay, this is a real treat, folks, because the polar bear is almost never, ever out and in view for this tour. Does anyone in the back, can everyone see in the back? Alright, cool. Now, a fun fact about these polar bears. The reason why these polar bears might seem a little bit slimmer than the ones you see in the wild or in documentaries is because the polar bears here at the San Diego Zoo are fed a primarily low-fat diet. In the wild, they usually get a very high in fat diet to give them the fat layers to protect them from the frigidly cold temperatures from which they're native. You can imagine here at the San Diego Zoo, they're always having fun in the sun, so they don't really need all that protection. So we feed them a primarily low in fat diet as a preventative health measure to make sure they're happy, healthy, and comfortable throughout the day. Alright, we're going to let this car pass and then we will continue on. And that was a real treat, folks. That almost never happens on tour. Alright, and I would like to note that that is the first time that has happened to me as a tour driver, so you guys are quite lucky.
That's it.
Alright. We have some on spots to our right. Can't see any right now. Can anyone see any? Alright.
Oh my god.
We're coming up all the way to our right. Looks like you have some of them out. They are Chico and Peccaries. These guys are interesting because they have the nickname of the living fossil. And they are called the living fossils because up until the early 1970s, they were considered to be extinct until a group of Western researchers rediscovered them in Southern America. And up above us, we don't have any currently running right now, but this is the SkyTram, and this will take you from end to end in the zoo, and it is a really cool ride, and I do highly recommend taking the trip. And if you are going on that trip and you are not afraid of heights or squeamish, if you look down in the middle trip, you might be able to catch a top-down glimpse of our gorillas in their exhibit. And to our left, we have our mountain lions, and they are usually out towards dusk, so I highly recommend, if you are here later in the day, checking these guys out. Because you're almost guaranteed to never see one in the wild, unless they want you to see them, and by then, well, it's dinner time. To our right, we usually have our maned wolves. They also like to stay cooler in the morning. Fun fact about the maned wolves, they are not actually wolves, but they are more closely related to and cousins of the dog. And if you do smell that skunky smell, that is the maned wolves communicating with each other. That is their main mode of communication. Telling each other where each other are, where some mates might be, and where some prey is. And now we are coming into my favorite part of the San Diego Zoo, the Elephant's Odyssey. We're just passing them to our left. We have an example of our pollinator garden, home to some of our pollinator species, such as butterflies and bees. So I do highly recommend checking that out if you are a plant lover. So as we pull up to our right here, we usually have our lions. We have our male lion Ernest and our lioness Ellen. They like to sleep on and take naps on these pedestals. Doesn't look like I can see them on their pedestals right now. Can anyone see Ellen or Ernest?
Down here. Yes.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Down there.
Oh yeah.
Down there.
See if we can pull up a little bit.
Hello, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Oh. Hello, kitty.
All right. Fun fact about the yes, Ernest is all the way in the corner there. He looks like he's just hanging out in that corner. So usually they either like to hang out on these pedestals or over in this corner in the shade. I'll pull out real slow so we can get a good look. Now these cats like to sleep up to 18 hours a day. Not unlike domestic cats you might have at home. Does anyone here have cats at home? Yes? Well, they act much like those house cats, but they are just bigger and more beautiful versions. And I wouldn't want to go pet them either. Now, they are also siblings. And what's funny about this, folks, is that the other day I was giving a tour, and Ellen and Ernest were sitting on the same pedestal taking a nap. And Ernest wanted just a little bit more real estate than Ellen was giving him. So he decided to get up and start moving around. And she got so annoyed that she had to roar and get up and move to the other end of the habitat. And she just had enough of Ernest being annoying, just like how some human siblings interact. I know that I interacted like that with my siblings. Alright, coming up to our right, we have our female jaguar Nindiri. It looks like she's just hanging out in the shade right down below here. And this is a treat as well because of her many spots, it was hard for her to be spotted, pun intended, because she blends in real well with the shade and the leaves. I'll go by real slow so everyone can get a good view of Nindiri hanging out right down there in the shade. Now, the reason why she is alone in this habitat is because jaguars are solitary creatures and she does like to be alone. But she gets her own big giant habitat to hang out and relax in. Fit with a pool and a giant tree for relaxing. Now I do always like to mention and ask, does anyone here like coffee? Yes? Alright. Well, if you do like coffee, you can help protect the Nindiri's home habitat and her brothers and sisters by buying shade-grown coffee. Because as many of you know, in the rainforest, large swaths of land are cut down to make room for agriculture or to just simply farm for wood. And this can negatively impact and destroy Nindiri's native habitat. So if you do want to help out a little bit as well as buy some delicious coffee, then you could, instead of buying your normal coffee, you can get some fair trade shade-grown coffee, and I'm sure Nindiri would thank you. Alright, and as we come around here, we're going to see a little bit more of our elephant exhibit and maybe catch a glimpse of a couple of our African and Asian elephants. Can anyone tell me the difference between an African or an Asian elephant? Yes, the size of their ears. So African elephants have much larger ears than Asian elephants. Oh, and this is a treat, guys. I'm going to be quiet real quick because they're doing some animal care here. Looks like one of our elephants might be getting a bath.
In the cage. Oh my god.
Alright, that's usually a treat, folks. That doesn't happen a lot as well unless you're on a morning tour. So, you guys are lucky. Alright, coming up to our right, we have our secretary birds. Now, these birds are similar looking to hawks, but differ in some physiology and hunting style. So these birds, you can see, have very long legs, and they use these long legs to stomp out their prey. So as opposed to hawks who dive bomb and hunt primarily through the air, these secretary birds hunt primarily on the ground. And their food consists of rodents, other small animals, and venomous snakes. Yes, you heard that right, venomous snakes. So these creatures are able to stomp out their prey with excessive force to be able to incapacitate those venomous creatures so they don't get harmfully bitten. Now these creatures, they can fly, not quite as high or as long as hawks, but you can see their nests are slightly elevated, so they are able to fly high enough to get into their nests. Alright, coming up to our right, we might have a couple of our elephants here. Some do like to hang out in the other end of this exhibit. Does anyone see any elephants on this side? Alright, I don't, but you can see some mud there, and that is there because when it is forecasted to be a hot day here at the zoo, we have the grounds crew come out here, wet the dirt and create some mud, so the elephants have something to protect their skin from the harmful UV rays. Just like humans use sunscreen, these guys like to use mud. Alright, we have one of our African elephants coming up to our right up here. Looks like he is heading towards the utility. Now I'll take a stop here real quick so everyone can take a look and watch this guy have a little snack while I tell you about what the utility tree is. So, we used to have real trees here in the elephant exhibit here at the San Diego Zoo, but the elephants kept stripping the bark off and the trees ended up dying as a result. So we had some people come in here and we strategized and we got these utility trees in here. And these are meant to stimulate the animals mentally as well as simulate the amount of effort that they would have to make to get their food in the wild. Because just like us humans, these highly intelligent creatures have big brains. So just like us, the brain is a muscle, you use it or lose it. And it is important to keep these animals mentally healthy as well as physically healthy. Alright, I'll continue on real slow here so everyone can get a good look of him crossing this little plain. Fun fact about this habitat as well, this habitat was built to simulate what Southern California must have been like about 12,000 years ago. To give these animals an optimal sense of home.
Something big. I don't know.
Coming up here, you might see a little mud pit where some of these elephants cover themselves in this mud to be able to protect them from the UV rays. Now, something fun about these guys, we have a couple of siblings here, a couple of African elephant siblings, and they do like to roughhouse and play. Does anyone have a couple of dogs at home?
Yes.
Alright. Well, they do like to roughhouse and play like other small animals, and even sometimes like human children, kicking up dust and having some roughhouse play. To our right, we have our dromedary camel. She looks like she is eating out of her feed bag right now, and dromedary camel means she only has one hump. Some camels have two. Now, a fun fact about camels, as many of you might know, is that camels can go days without food or water, which make them the optimal animal for desert travel. Sometimes, depending on what country you're in, specifically in places like Morocco and where there are deserts to be crossed and you can take camping experiences, they do have you ride camels. Alright, we'll continue on here after letting the car pass. So up to our right, we have our California condors. Looks like we'll have to come around this corner real quick. And we have one of them on their perch right here. Looks like he's just having a rest in the shade. These California condors are considered the custodial service of the animal kingdom. Can anyone tell me why? Yes, because they like to eat the refuge that is left behind by animal carcasses. Fun fact about these guys is that their wingspan is so long that if they were in this bus with us right now, their wings would spread from window to window. Another cool fact about these creatures is that in the morning and sometimes in the early afternoon they do like to sunbathe, and when they do that they open their wings up all the way and spread all the way apart to face the sun to absorb the sun's rays and energy and warm them up just like a solar panel faces towards the sun. So these are some beautiful creatures. To our right we have Kangaroo Bus Stop number 4. I always do like to point that out as well. That is another one of our several kangaroo bus stops if you would like to have some reliable transportation around the zoo. And I do also always like to point out the restrooms at this point of the zoo at map location marker number 10. If you do need to use the restrooms and you are here at this point of the zoo, then they are to our right. And to our right is one of my favorite exhibits. We have our meerkats.
It's the small one.
And if you see one of them right over there, I see one standing on the rock. He is sizing us up right now. He's making sure that we are not a credible threat to his group, and that everyone in the cavernous system underneath him is going to be safe and sound. I'll take a real quick stop here. Make sure everyone can get a good glimpse of this beautiful creature. Now it looks like he is facing a way, but he will turn around occasionally to have a look and make sure that we are not going to consistently pose a threat. Now they are adorable. I don't know about everyone else, but before I started breaking here, the only times I ever was able to see, had the pleasure to see meerkats were in documentaries. So I do highly recommend taking the footpath and getting up close and personal with these creatures, because they are very, very adorable. To our right we have the African rock copy, which is home to many different species of African animals. And right now we have our trumpeter hornbill. Looks like he's hanging out on that branch right there. He has a bill similar to in shape to a toucan, but much smaller and less colorful. I'll go by real slow.
Something on the
Oh my
rock.
god.
Oh, and this is also a treat, folks. This almost never happens as well. We have a klipspringer up on this rock to our right. He's hanging out on that rock right there, and their feet are really tiny, about the size of a dime, which provides, and it is specially equipped to be able to balance on rocks, kind of like a fake suction cup. They are able to stick to those rocks and stay at certain angles you would think that they wouldn't be able to. It is incredible. They are adorable and they are very unique. And that is a treat, because that doesn't happen as well. Very rarely are they up on those rocks hanging out during tours, usually early in the morning or midday when it is a little bit cooler. And to our left we have some dragon fruit, and what is fun about dragon fruit is that they do bloom overnight. You can see them right now. They are about done blooming. And also behind us back there we had our banana trees. All over there we have our banana trees and our dragon fruit that are grown for our animals to eat. Not for the staff, unfortunately. That would be delicious. But you can also take tours of this unique plant life, and you can find these tours online on the mobile site under the events tab, or on the desktop site under the events tab. They do happen about 1 to 2 times a month, I believe. And to our right, we do have the Rest of Africa Rocks, which is home to our baboons. So if you are looking to check out some of our baboons or other African species, you can take this footpath to our right.
Yeah, the other one though.
All right. As we're coming along California Boardwalk, and before we turn right into Urban Jungle, I always like to mention, ahead of us we have Sydney's Grill. If you are looking for a bite to eat or something to drink, that is right ahead of us. And to our left we have my favorite type of garden, the Boardwalk Beer Garden. where we have several different types of beers on tap, as well as soda for the kids. Alright, looks like we are safe to cross into the urban jungle. Take a slow stop. It is a high traffic area usually. Alright, and as we come into the urban jungle, I always like to mention we will be seeing giraffes, we will be seeing cheetahs, giraffes by hand, and it was an invaluable experience, and I really do recommend it. Alright, we are about to head into the quiet zone, so as to be courteous to everyone here as well as the animals, I'm going to go radio silent for now, but I will come back and meet up with y'all at the end of the loop, but enjoy the rest of your view. When I am not at the zoo. Alright, and I do also like to reiterate, coming back through here, that we do have Sydney's Grill to our right, if you're looking for something to eat. And we do have the Boardwalk Beer Garden to our left, if you are looking for something to drink. Alright, we'll be coming through this plaza here, and there's a couple more things I do like to point out. To our left we have Sydney's Gift Shop, so if you're looking for some merchandise you can purchase some there. And up to our right we have Center Street, if you're looking to view some of our Andean, sloth, or grizzly bears. And to our left we have the pedestrian path to entrance and exit if you are looking to go back to the front of the zoo. Alright folks, we're nearing the end of our tour here and our time together. But I'd just like to remind everyone as we come to the undocking station to keep their hands, feet, bodies, and belongings inside of the bus at all times to ensure a safe and happy docking session. Looks like the docking session is loaded up right now, so we'll just hang out here for 2 seconds. But while we're here, I'll just thank everyone for coming through our front doors here today, like I mentioned before at the beginning of our tour. Because as soon as you come through the doors here at the San Diego Zoo, you are actively participating and contributing to our many different conservative wildlife hubs around the world to conserve our endangered species and make sure all wildlife thrives. Because when wildlife thrives, all life thrives. So thank you for coming to this world-famous San Diego Zoo and hanging out with me today. My name is Chris, and enjoy the rest of your trip.